Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Group Chat. It's time to start a new week, and we're going to start by filling your brain with lots and lots of knowledge. You might be saying to yourself this morning, fuck Elon.
Yes.
And you know what? We kind of did too.
Well, Anand definitely did.
Anand definitely did.
Ban Tesla.
Anand literally backed out of a Tesla purchase
Yes.
because of Elon and the BS that's going on right now. But the way that I see it is, it's good news. Bitcoin is on sale. Crypto is on sale.
Oh, I love a good sale.
And we're going to have a whole episode with our good friend Ian Rogers about all things crypto, everything you need to know. He's got a new job over at Ledger. I didn't know what Ledger was before this episode. Now I know.
It was a really good episode for everyone to learn.
It's a crypto chat.
A crypto chat. And crypto is, I would say, obviously more a topic of conversation than ever, especially with what's going on right now with a little bit of a fall off. So get educated.
All right.
You can listen to Pete and go all in on Doge, or you can listen to Ian and, see what he has to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get into it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Ian, welcome back.
Thank you.
Fan favorite.
That's the intro. Fan favorite. You're our Naval. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You got
That's a tall order.
That's how our listeners, if we're Joe Rogan, the three of us, then you're our Naval. That's what
Dude,
the
I'll
reaction
take it.
was.
Or did you guys hear Balaji on Tim Ferriss yet? Did you listen to all 3 hours of it?
I
No.
haven't.
Is it good?
It's super good. It's super good. Yeah,
Okay.
it's worth listening to.
Okay, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so good to have you back. We kind of talked about this quickly, but not enough for the fans to really soak it in. You have a new job.
I have a new job.
Where did you go?
So I'm at a company called Ledger, which is also based here in Paris. So I'm actually still working with LVMH as a consultant. I picked up a board seat at Dr. Martens, which is cool for me because it's sort of I get to keep playing in the retail disruption space with a brand that is really fun to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, iconic.
And I'm still on the board at list.com, which is the fashion search engine, but that's through my work with LVMH. And then I started full time, and it's more than full time. It's 150% of my time at a company here called Ledger, which makes hardware wallets to store digital assets. Obviously such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, but also NFTs and really anything else which is a digital asset. So the idea of Ledger is it's not new. I mean, the company's been around for more than 6 years. And was started here in France. It's the same technology that they use for kind of chip and pin type of tech, which is actually it's something that which chip and pin, by the way, was developed here in France as well. So there's a lot of skill.
What is chip and pin? I have no idea. Sorry.
Like on a
Exactly.
credit card?
In America, we don't really use it, but you have the chip on your credit card.
Yeah.
That secures, and that's like more and more in the U.S. now, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have the
yeah.
chip on
Yeah,
the
we're
credit
chipped
card.
up now.
Yeah,
both in our arms.
I think when I moved here, it was kind of nowhere, and it was everywhere here.
Wow.
But it's actually a secure, a secure chip that secures the credit card transaction. So it's that was developed here in France only to say that there is a lot of technical skill around working with these very secure, but also quite difficult to work with secure elements and security in general and financial security in general. And so what Ledger has developed over the past 6 years is the way that you keep the private keys for your cryptocurrency offline. And then when it is that when you want to make a transaction, you sign the transaction using Ledger. And the reason that you do that is you can trust your Ledger because it has secure chip, secure memory, secure screen, secure input in the form of 2 buttons. And you can trust it in a way that you simply can't trust your phone or your PC, because your phone or your PC has lots of layers between your keyboard and what you see on the screen and the actual code, right? And that's what makes your phone and your computer so great, is that they're really sophisticated devices that run thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of apps. But that same thing is what makes them, not particularly secure and, not the right thing to store real value with. So if you have real value, or maybe you had real value yesterday before Elon tweeted and today you have less real value, well, no matter how much value you have, you can't protect, Web3 value with Web2 hardware.
Yeah.
And so
like
the other option really is to have, a custodian such as a Coinbase or Binance or Kraken, which are, those are good solutions as well. But as I've heard Anand say before, not your keys, not your coins, right? So those are effectively banks. And, you could always have a run on the bank, or a regulator could step in and say, oh, well, we actually, don't want you to have your money, or you can only take out $5,000 in a 24-hour period, or whatever it is. Whereas, having a ledger is like keeping, gold bars under your bed. You hold the value in your hand.
Got it.
I think it's a really good segue, because I've gotten multiple DMs in the last 2 weeks from listeners of ours that have been hacked on their Coinbase accounts.
Really?
And been wiped because their two-factor authorization is through their SIM card.
Yeah.
And they're getting SIM swapped. Basically, someone's calling Verizon or AT&T, pretending to be them.
Yeah.
And changing where the phone number gets sent to, and they've lost all their coins. And multiple people have DM'd me this.
Yeah.
And like at the very minimum, please, everyone, Google Authenticator if you're doing two-factor authenticity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At the maximum, do what Ian's saying, which is Ledger, which is like own your keys.
Yeah.
But that's what's really sad, because like multiple listeners have lost all their crypto.
Yeah.
And not just because of Elon.
No.
Exactly.
Fuck Elon, but yeah.
Fuck Elon.
The thing to remember here is that we now have digital assets. Like this is the invention, right? Like we talked about, when I was on the show back in November, like the invention is incredible, because we went from, the magic of the internet was freedom of information in a way. Information could travel anywhere. If I wanted to get my idea out, I didn't have to print 50,000 magazines, right? It was, and if I wanted to get my song out, I didn't need to print 10,000 albums, right? That's the incredible problem that the internet solved. But, you kind of lose ownership along the way there. We don't own DVDs, we don't own compact discs, we don't own our identity, right? So now we have this new invention of, digital scarcity. But the problem with that is that when you have digital scarcity, you can have also digital loss, right? So I could now lose something digital the same way I can lose my cell phone. If you lost your Drake MP3, no big deal. I just sent you another one because it was already a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. If you lose your private keys, it's gone. Like there's nothing that's going to get it back. And it's not just like your bank account either, where it's like, oh, the bank made an error. No problem. We'll correct, because that's just numbers in a spreadsheet. Like this is an actual asset. And so, the way that's happening on an exchange, there's this level of indirection between you and your money, which actually kind of has its own value in a way, because there are things that an exchange can do because they have, the same way that there are things that a bank can do because they don't actually, have, all of the money that they've lent out, right? There's a level of indirection there. Same thing with an exchange. So there's things that you can do with that. At the same time, like what you mentioned was SIM swaps. Like you get SIM swapped and it gets drained, then you have no recourse. And the other one that I've been hearing about is, people that are just getting phished on MetaMask. So they're using MetaMask. You can use MetaMask with Ledger, which is the way you should do it. That's what I do. I have a MetaMask account, but it's connected to my Ledger device. So, but if you're using MetaMask without Ledger, I have a friend who he woke up in the morning, he got a message on Discord. It looked like it was from a friend. It was a friend who was going to send him something. It was a link. he thought he was logging into his MetaMask.
shit.
He wasn't. 2 minutes later, it's all gone. And he was like, man, they worked so fast too, because like I immediately realized what I had done. And so I tried to change my password, or I don't know what he was going to do, send the value out or whatever, and and then when it happens, it's over. Right. So,
Wow.
So security is a big deal. And with Ledger, the way it works is, your private keys are stored within the Ledger device, so they never get fully exposed to the internet. And when you sign a transaction, first of all, what you see is what you sign. So, because the other thing that has happened to people is they think they see something on their screen, and then they take an action, and that action is not really what was happening. So maybe there's some kind of man in the middle attack. There are some famous ones out there that you can, from people who are quite knowledgeable, and they got hacked because they just kind of like weren't paying attention. And they were a target, and somebody got in between, what they thought they were doing and what was actually happening underneath. But with Ledger, what you see is what you sign. So before you confirm a transaction, you look at the screen and you do some stuff. But you look at it and you go, is this really what I'm doing? Is this what I want to be doing? And you only say confirm if yes, everything matches up, and then what goes out onto the blockchain is exactly what you saw on your ledger.
I think it's super critical for people that want to get into crypto. I think everyone under 25 is in crypto in some way, whether it's Doge, Shibu,
Cum Rocket.
Bitcoin, Cup Rocket, doesn't matter. Ass Rocket, whatever the coin is.
Yeah.
But this is no different than getting robbed on the street.
Yeah.
What Ian's referring to,
But
where
much
people
less scary.
Much less
You don't
scary,
have
but
guns. We
there's
can
no
get rid of the guns.
Yeah, but more value lost.
True.
Because there's only so much you have on you when you're walking down the street.
That's true.
Maybe just get punched in the face.
Not if you're a little baby.
True. Good point. Floyd Mayweather
Yeah.
walks around with millions in a duffel. Sorry. We just
I had a really good point. I was on a really good rant.
You did.
No, but cyber beef is way worse than getting robbed on the street.
It's the same way like war now is, through
the
hackers
pipelines,
and
right?
pipelines and whatever. Like it's not, as much bombs and guns, right? It's this sort of forever hackathon. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, cybercrime is like more than half of all crime that happens on planet Earth every day. And you're going to be able to say this was the worst year for cybercrime. You can just say that every year of your life.
Right.
You're going to be fine. Like that's going to be true. Like this year will be the worst year for cybercrime. You say it again next year and you'll also be right.
There's an easy conversation starter for everyone feeling a little socially awkward, getting back out there. Just next, you run into someone and say, hey, this is the worst year for cybercrime.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
What's your thoughts on that?
You're worried about what's happening on Sunset.
Yeah.
Did you know it was the worst year for
Did you know, statistically,
It's safer to walk in Hollywood than it is to be on the
to be
internet.
online?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that?
True.
Well,
it's
Ian,
also, I mean, that's partly that's because it's like, stealing $1 billion in gold bars.
It's hard.
That's pretty hard.
Yeah.
That takes
really
Die
hard.
Hard, the movie Die Hard. Right?
You're right.
Exactly. That's Die Hard. But stealing $1 billion in crypto is like just typing.
Yeah. I have a question. So what happens if you physically lose your Ledger device?
That's a very good question. So it's here's the interesting thing. The way this actually works is, the value is stored on the blockchain. And what your Ledger device is doing is it's holding your private keys and it's signing transactions. So when you get your Ledger out of the box and you set it up for the first time, it will give you these 24 words. And those 24 words are what they call a seed phrase. It's basically your recovery phrase. So it's like a backup of your recovery. So using cryptography, they take those 24 words and it turns it into your key pair. So you have a public key and a private key. And think of it like your mailbox. Your public key is your address where the postal person can put something into your mailbox. Mm-hmm. But the private key is your key and only you can open the mailbox. So that's your key pair. So when you set up your Ledger device, those two things get generated and you get these 24 words, which are basically your backup phrase.
Got it.
So this is what a lot of people don't realize is that backup phrase is actually the thing that you have to protect. So you take that thing and you put it in a safe deposit box, or you put it somewhere that only you have access to. Because if somebody gets those 24 words, they can get your value. But because of that, you're pretty safe walking around with your ledger because it's got a passcode on it. So as long as nobody has your passcode, you're fine. If you type the passcode wrong 3 times, it bricks the device. It just factory resets, and you can't do anything with it. So let's say you were in a super compromising situation. You could just punch the passcode in 3 times wrong, and it's just like nobody can do anything. Or there's also a feature which is called plausible deniability, where you just put in a different passcode and it shows a different set of accounts. So you could be like, oh no, look, I only have $50 of Bitcoin because I just used it to buy weed on the dark web, or whatever it is you say. Although if someone's super savvy, they might say, yo, where's the other passcode? And then again, 3 times and the thing bricks. And it's really those 24 words get you back. The other thing that's like super science fiction about it, what that means is you could set this thing up, load it with as much money as you want or have or whatever, throw the device into the trash can or into the fire, take the 24 words, use them as a bookmark, move across a border. And then I don't know what you say when you answer those questions, when you come into the country and it's like, are you carrying more than, $10,000 in cash? But yeah, that's the way it works. And it's actually super important that people understand that because, again, one of the scams that people run is they call people that they think might have a ledger, and they say, oh, hey, this is Ledger. There's a big transaction going through on your account right now. We need to confirm it, but to confirm it, we need your 24 words.
Oh,
and
my
people,
God.
how social engineering works. They catch you at like really stressful moments and get you to do something that you shouldn't have done, that you shouldn't have done. But at the moment, it's 3-card money, right? You're on the street and you're like, I could win this thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that the nerds are the new gangsters?
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Vladimir Putin probably is like doubling down on the nerd facility he has. All the hackers.
As
the
opposed to
mercenaries.
goons.
Yeah,
You
getting
don't
rid
need
of some of the
goons.
soldiers.
Yeah.
Beating us up on Wilshires.
Won't do it.
No.
But it sounds like Ledger could bring physical robbery back.
Hold on.
Hold on one second.
We just lost you.
Drum, it might just be your microphone.
Check.
Yep.
Yeah.
Check.
Got it. Yeah.
It sounds like Ledger could bring physical robberies back, which is really exciting. I want to get back to the old school.
You just want to get back to being unsafe
It's like,
walking
once
down
again,
the
it's
street.
like listening to music on vinyl. It's like whatever. I want the gun.
But it's no different than having your like Coinbase account in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's definitely.
crazy.
I mean, it's a brave new world.
And
Yeah.
so
It is crazy out there, guys. Kids, it's crazy out there.
what's even crazier is what Elon Musk just did.
Yeah, can we talk about it? We alluded to it a few times, but what's
I'm
going on?
sick of this
man?
guy.
Okay,
Just go away.
Hold on.
I fought
Hold on.
for him on the first round.
Hold on. Let me explain what happened. So, casual Mr. Whale decides to send out a tweet. This is
Who's Mr. Whale?
at Crypto Whale. Some
Okay.
guy on Twitter.
Okay.
Maybe he's a big Twitter account. Bitcoiners are going to slap themselves next quarter when they find out Tesla dumped the rest of their Bitcoin holdings. With the amount of hate Elon Musk is getting, I wouldn't blame him. So he just puts this out into the ether. And, we don't know if he verified it. He just says it. Good old Elon Musk with his blue check mark fires right back an hour later. Indeed. And now I just got an alert from Bloomberg, CNBC, Wall Street Journal. Elon Musk looks like he has dumped all his Bitcoin holdings. I mean, this guy just responded to a tweet, and in the last 2 weeks, no, it's not even 2 weeks, 10 days, what has he wiped off? $500 billion now?
Yeah, probably $500 billion at this point.
We're
$500 billion.
Why does he even have the power? Who gives a fuck if Tesla has Bitcoin or not?
No, but here's the problem is he actually sold them. So I think so this is probably now what happened is we were trying to figure out like, why did it actually go down?
Yeah.
Just because he thought it was bad for the
Yeah, but they
environment.
only had $1.5 billion, $2 billion. That doesn't move the market. I don't think anyone gives a shit about the volume that he's trading because it's not meaningful. Even Tesla's meaningful, like what they had a few $1 billion in Bitcoin, that is not meaningful. You can trade tens of billions
Maybe
of
he
dollars
personally
a day.
had tens of
But
billions.
isn't
of
it
dollars.
just that people like
no,
it's
people
like a
are
trust
just like
issue?
standing on fucking Elon.
Get the fuck out of
That's
here.
all it is. It has nothing to do with his volume. I can guarantee you. Do you know how much money is traded on this fucking asset class? It's not because of Tesla's balance sheet. No one gives a shit about Tesla's balance sheet. It's because this fuck is thinking he's in a simulation. Sim, that's what you fucking Gen Zers are. You're in a sim. And he thinks he just wants to fuck with the world.
But why do we care? It's like, okay, if that's the news, then great. Then Bitcoin is just once again having a huge flash sale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck cares? All the other adoption for crypto and all the other good news, you're telling me that Elon Musk's opinion and whims on Twitter affect what this many other people do? Is that really all it is? Ian?
I think that the thing I keep thinking is we don't know how deep this goes really, right? Because on some level, yes. And the thing to remember about Bitcoin is that the volatility is a feature, not a bug. Because if it wasn't volatile, nobody would give a shit about it, right? If it just like sat there and never moved, then no one would even care. It's the fact that it goes way down and way up that makes people know about it and therefore look deeper into it and ask deeper questions about, wait, what is this? I think there's another level for me with the Elon thing that makes it, potentially a more real conversation. And that is that he's talking specifically about its energy consumption. And I think that, there are lots of, whether or not the energy consumption is a real issue that we should all care deeply about or not, doesn't matter. It's, perception is reality when it comes to the energy consumption one. So he's, with Elon talking about energy consumption, and look, maybe that too is bullshit because, we know, or there's some, I don't even want to say we know anything, to be honest with you. But again, another part of the conversation is that Tesla gets subsidies, based on being a green company. So having a green company tied to something which, it has, energy consumption issues, that was like the rumor as to why they made this call back on Wednesday, whenever it was, about no longer accepting Bitcoin.
Wow.
Okay, so then, but you have to ask the question, then this rumor comes that Elon has been talking to Doge developers for 2 years, may or may not be true. But you have to start to ask, like, Elon is, maybe none of this is actually a whim for Elon. Maybe on some level, he's like, look, Bitcoin is a story. I've got stories too. And we know that Elon wants to change the world. You want to change the world? Redistribute the wealth. If he redistributes the wealth from Wall Street to Reddit, it changes the world.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is we really don't know. But the fact is, all of this is just Wild West. I mean, you got to remember that Bitcoin was $10,000, not even a year ago.
It's 3,000 in March of 2020.
Yeah.
So, a swing like this would not be, the interesting thing is that nobody who does analytics was predicting this. And it's a great example of the fact that we as human beings are fundamentally story consuming creatures, right? So you can do all the analytics and predicting you want. And like the best predictions were that, Bitcoin would bottom out on this kind of correction around 43,000 and then go back up to 75,000 to 100,000 between now and the end of the year. We'll see if that happens. Maybe it is just a flash sale, because what happens is there's a story, some people freak out, story gets consumed, people keep looking into the fundamentals of, what is Bitcoin, and you go, oh yeah, it does use energy, but it also doesn't require a military. So, this is not an easy, there's not an easy answer to this question or conundrum, but there's, Elon has like a really outsized megaphone. No question.
Didn't he say on Wednesday, we're not selling our Bitcoin?
Yes, he said that on Wednesday.
Yes, he
and
did
then
that.
Today he said, indeed, he sold it.
Well, he didn't say, he just said indeed. He didn't, that's the thing.
Indeed is confirmation, because
If it's indeed and he didn't sell it, he's even worse than we thought.
Then so is he just market manipulating and trying to buy more? I don't know. In my opinion, I think Ian agrees as well, is the train's left the station. So whether you buy Bitcoin at 44,000, 55,000, 60,000, it really doesn't matter. It's a real asset class.
So you would buy it for 60,000 right now, even though it's at 45.
Yes.
Okay.
I would too.
I mean, to me, if you buy it at all, you should buy it at any price, right? And
Yeah. It's either
if
real
not,
or it
yeah.
isn't.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
either zero
Exactly.
or it's a lot more than what it is today.
Exactly.
That's
right.
That's my view.
But what the
That's exactly
fuck,
right.
man. But just chill
It's
out.
crazy.
But so
it's,
are you
it's also
do you think Ian,
Yeah, go
like, because one of my biggest questions is, do you think that simply Elon Musk's opinion on Bitcoin can cause this big of swings?
I think it can. What will happen? You know, the challenge is that, you know, perception and reality are the same thing, and that's what's been happening on the way up. And look, money is a collective delusion. All forms of money are a collective delusion, right? There is no such thing as real value. So we all have to kind of agree on what is value. And you know, what has happened with Bitcoin in the last few years is that it's reached critical mass, where there is enough collective agreement on the way this thing works, and that many of us, Anand and I included, have bought into this storyline, and this storyline being one that goes on for a long time and is incredibly resilient because of the fundamentals of, what does it mean to have sound money, and what does sound money look like, and then what best fits that in today's landscape, and it is Bitcoin. I think what's interesting is like a whole bunch of other stories have emerged too. So obviously there's the Ethereum narrative, which is only getting stronger, and you can see that in the price of Ethereum as well. And then you have these other narratives, whether it's Polkadot or Tezos or Cardano or Solana, and they actually all have their place. And so I think you can and then we haven't even talked about the central bank digital currencies, right? The fact that what's going on in China is very, very, very real, and they have they're kind of building Chinese digital money, which has oversight of its peoples built into it. Right. And then that sets off this whole game theory where, okay, what does, the US government do then to respond, or the European government, which is, maybe not actually a question, but the US government at the very least will probably do something to respond to what's going on in China. So again, to come back to, what I'd said earlier before we started recording about Ledger, from our perspective, we're agnostic to how all of that plays out. But I think, like Naval Ravikant says, thinking that the internet wouldn't have its own money is like thinking that the U.S. Postal Service would deliver email. So of course, this sort of digital value narrative is going to play out. And we know this. It's 1997, and we're in the run up, to the .com bubble here. On some level. Now, what patterns will it follow? I don't know, but at the end of the day, there will certainly be digital value. Banks will have completely different jobs in the future than they have now. Visa International be in the Apple Pay payment that you make at the local bodega in 5 years? Probably not. Massive things are going to change. And it's actually much more interesting than simply, the Elon Bitcoin Doge, roadshow, sideshow roadshow.
That's all noise. For sure, what you're alluding to, but I thought Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, he did a tweet thread. I don't know if you saw it, Ian, or not, but he basically was like, I was in DC all week. I spent time with, and he named a few Congress people, senators, and regulators, and he talked about I'm trying to get the U.S. government up to speed on crypto. China is already doing digital currency, and if we don't get ahead of it, we are going to lose. Mm-hmm. So this is an actual national security threat, which I've been talking about for a while, that if the US does not actually get ahead of crypto and actually makes kind of negative regulation against this industry, you're going to lose to China.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the first time he said it publicly, because I've heard this privately many times, that this is the new war, right? This is the new nuclear weapons. Who's going to control this stuff?
Yeah, it just kills me that with how legit it is and how legit it has gotten and all that stuff, if one dude and a tweet can affect it that way, that's alarming to me.
That is alarming because what I don't understand is, and maybe Ian, now that you're kind of full into the world, you might be able to explain. So Elon Musk specifically commented in the last week about Bitcoin, not any other currency, Bitcoin specifically. So in the equity market, when someone comments about one stock, that stock goes down, not the entire stock market.
No,
right?
I actually disagree. Because if someone says something about interest rates,
That's
which is
interest
what's
rates.
happened.
No. That's very different. If Warren Buffett said, you know what, I don't believe Apple is the future, I'm going to dump my Apple stock, the entire market does not go
NASDAQ
down.
Or
would go
even
down.
Microsoft doesn't go down.
No, they would
Yeah.
all go down.
No,
100%.
Not like this.
100% they would.
There would be something up.
If anyone made a comment about a Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon,
Yeah.
and the entire tech market goes down.
But if somebody said,
no,
I don't
they
like,
don't.
1,000%.
but to
No,
me,
they
to
don't.
me, it's
I can
comparable.
find you days where Amazon stock has gone down and the market's gone up. Of course it has happened.
To me, this
because
is-
if there's negative Amazon news, the entire tech market goes down.
Not the entire stock market,
They
though.
cycle out of tech.
Not the entire stock.
These are algorithms. The way the markets work is it's actually algorithms. There's not actually like Pete and Tim deciding to buy and sell on
There's
Robinhood.
not.
There's not Pete.
What? But to me, this is like if somebody said Adidas, I don't like Adidas because they don't know how to use sustainable materials. And that's not good for the environment. And I don't like the future of that. And I think everything's moving to sustainable. And then Nike went down. That's what it feels like to me.
No, because I think this is very different because if you make a comment about Bitcoin and you're selling your Bitcoin, you're basically selling off the industry.
But his comment was about energy consumption
Yeah.
from mining Bitcoin. That was the specific.
He didn't say that
He
it's
didn't
not
say, I don't
valuable.
believe in
but do you
crypto
think,
anymore.
Do you think funds actually understand that? They're like, we start
But
seeing
that's
selling.
fucking insane.
No, they literally just start seeing selling patterns and they automatically start selling. And this is how run on banks and run on anything happens.
I know, but you just mentioned how much market cap was wiped from Bitcoin. If you add Litecoin, Ethereum, everything else that went down, and you're telling me this guy writes the word indeed,
Yeah.
and that can happen, that's fucking wild. And Elon Musk isn't Warren Buffett in the sense that he's not
He's richer.
the crypto expert, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett is the company expert.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is the fucking,
I
there's
think
17 other
there's one
things.
more element. There's one more element to add here, though, is that what people do when they hear news like this is they move to the side, right? So they end up taking their Bitcoin, they swap it into a stable coin like Tether, which is another conversation, and they wait for it to drop. When they think it's the bottom, they buy back in, they write it back up. So to Anand's point about the algorithms, there are both algorithms and there are people that are literally just riding the wave.
Yeah.
There again, the volatility is a feature, not a bug. But that's also another concern, by the way, because another thing that's moving the price right now, it's not just Elon. The other thing that's moving the price this weekend is that Tether came out with their kind of audit of what do they hold. So Tether's a stable coin that's worth $1. And supposedly, it's been a topic of controversy for a long time. Like, is Tether actually backed or is it a house of cards? Could there be a run on the bank, basically? And Anand, tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong, because I'm definitely not the expert on Tether. But what came out this weekend or last week, I guess, but a lot of conversation this weekend about it is, there 3% of Tether has real dollars in it. And a lot of Bitcoin is bought with Tether. So there's this conversation. And again, I'm not the expert, so I'm not going to comment on whether it's true or not. Again, Ledger is about digital assets very broadly and agnostically. So
Yeah.
I really truly, don't Ledger doesn't have any interest in this one way or the other. But my point is really that there's more than one thing that's driving that Bitcoin price, because there's also, for the more technical people, there's this Tether thing where they wonder, okay, wait, if kind of the Tether bubble gets popped, does that bring down the price of Bitcoin as well? Because is the price of Bitcoin sort of inflated in some way because of Tether? And there are definitely people on both sides of that argument.
Yeah.
Only point is that it is a little more complex than just the one tweet. Although, it's true that one tweet moves the market, but then a whole bunch of people go, oh, the market's going to move. I'm going to move.
Yeah.
And they move and they wait for the market to move and they move back in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get that part too. It's just, I like Elon.
Do you?
I did.
I have a lease coming up on our SUV, and
You were going to get
I
a
was
Tesla?
considering Tesla. There's zero chance I'm fucking getting a Tesla.
I think he'll be fine though.
He'll be fine.
But that's
But I'm
interesting
voting
that it
with my
affects-
wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's voting with his ledger.
Yeah. Voting with my ledger. No Tesla for me.
And I also think the thing about crypto that I'm also, since we're talking about it, Bitcoin was always counted as the inflation hedge. We have inflation. It's all the reports that came out last week.
Inflation, forget the reports. You go out, everything's so expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't need to.
there's just, if you take the energy part out of the inflation of just consumer products, there was like a 3%, I think.
4.2.
That's including energy.
Yeah.
I'm saying without energy, we're at 3%. So we know there's an energy issue, so that's fine. So without energy, there was a 3% increase in costs. So this was the perfect week, in my opinion, for Bitcoin to go up, if it's truly an inflation hedge. So that's an interesting. If that school of thought is still there, this is the time Bitcoin should be going up.
I just have to point out, I just clicked on Bitcoin to see where it was at on Robinhood. Scheduled maintenance. Bitcoin trades might not execute right now. We'll be back at 2:45 or earlier.
Vlad's back.
Vlad, bro. What? Anytime anything happens,
They can't handle it. And you know what's interesting? So,
What the fuck?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Robinhood, we don't even actually own anything, so you can't even convert it to your ledger.
Yeah, you can't,
correct.
right?
Yeah, you can't take.
Oh my
You can't
God.
take anything. You can't. By the way, I mean, Bitcoin price hasn't really changed today. I just looked.
Okay.
I mean, it's been 46,000, 45,000 all day today. So, and we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. Give it a week and see what happens. The analysts, the people who were really numbers people on this, thought that the correction would go down to 43. That's been on Twitter for a week from people that are kind of studying the numbers. Again, I'm no expert. I'm looking at Twitter like everybody else. So on this stuff. But I come back to what Anand said earlier. This is the right thing to do. Like what I tell my friends to do is buy half Bitcoin, buy half Bitcoin, half Ethereum, buy it every week. And you're going to be fine because you'll buy it when it's high, you'll buy it when it's low, and it's just like if I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be 49 in August, and if I had bought the S&P 500 every week, since I got out of college, that I'd have I would have done very well with that simple dollar cost average kind of buy. And to Anand's point, this is either worth a hell of a lot more or zero. So only spend what you can lose. Don't believe the hype, as Flava said, and just like kind of go with what you believe. For me personally, I only buy things that I can explain, right? So people are always asking me, "Oh, what about this? What about that?" I'm like, I don't know, but I have a little bit of a portfolio that goes further than Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I do my homework, and I try to get to the point where I can explain why the world might need this, and if I can't, I'm okay with not making money on that. I have no FOMO. I'm not going to be like, oh man, I really should have done that because so-and-so told me to do it. It's like, you do your homework, and if you can't get your head around it, then, sit it out. It's,
I think
except for Doge.
Yeah.
Except for Doge, because nobody knows
I'll
what's that.
never
I think, no, but I think that's amazing advice because if you were to just weekly auto buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, you'll make more money than weekly auto buying Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google.
Yeah. Unless
Which
Elon
is like
tweets.
kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's just
that's the right move. And I mean, that move, if you look at previous history, that move works. Buying monthly, you could, it depends on what day of the month you buy, and the swings are big enough that you could you could get it wrong if you're buying monthly. But if you're buying those 2 weekly, and by the way, like the other side of this is it's really fun to watch people get their heads around it, because you can see people get their head around the Bitcoin narrative. And one of the pieces of the Bitcoin narrative that's so simple to understand is that you only have to understand the demand side of the equation, because supply is predictable at any moment, for forever. And so that's really unusual, right? You can't do that with almost any other, certainly with no other currency. Now, Ethereum is more complicated than that. The Ethereum, analogy would be closer to gasoline or oil than gold. But if you listen, and I encourage you and your listeners to take a listen to, if you haven't, Justin Drake was on the Unbanked podcast talking. If you search Justin Drake ultrasound money, it's worth like 3 listens. I've listened to it at least that many times, because the narrative, when you hear him tell it, he's very good at explaining it. It's very compelling. And I think, to me, that's what's in kind of, Ethereum going up. Is it Justin being on one podcast? No, of course not. But people they've gone through like, wait, I don't get this. This makes no sense. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe they read the Bitcoin Standard. Maybe they hear Michael Saylor speak. Maybe they, they just kind of like do their own research, and they kind of come to the place of, wow. I mean, I always ask people, have you read the Satoshi white paper? And like, read it. It's really amazing. Like, for me, just as a computer scientist, you read it and you're like, wow, this is like a really simple solution to a very hard problem. And it's so well thought out, like all of the pieces that were thought into it, all the way down to being pseudonymous. Is that right? Pseudonymous would mean he has the same name twice. I don't know. But
no one knows
all the way
who he
down
is.
to being, all the way down to being a pseudonym is so genius. Like, so, you start there, and then you watch people kind of get their head around it, and then they're like, Ethereum, oh my God, maybe, I don't know. I mean, at first for me with Ethereum, I'm like, oh, world computer, that's incredible. Okay, hold on, let me try to understand that. And, so and then I'll just buy a little bit as like a hedge, I mean, okay. But then you get kind of deeper into the narrative. And that's why I say that, the Justin Drake ultrasound money thing is really, you're listening to it, you're going, okay, this guy's definitely not an idiot, right? I'm not listening to talk radio at 2 a.m. right now.
You're not listening to
You know what I mean? Like, this guy is clearly a genius. And even if I don't understand all of what he says, and I know that, okay, is it 100% true and he's predicting the future? Of course not. But when you have people with this level of intellect working on a problem, this sophisticated with this much thought, and like what, the roadmap that they've laid out for Ethereum is incredibly ambitious. There's another one I listened to also on the Bankless podcast where they had 3 people who were building on top of Ethereum, talking about that. And, again, you have this feeling, you really understand why, when there are these other chains, you have Polkadot, you have Tezos, you have Flare coming, et cetera, et cetera. Why are they doing this? Why are they going through the pain of doing this on Ethereum? But it's very convincing, and these are incredibly intelligent people. So to me, that's like the fun of this whole thing. I mean, I follow 0 people on Twitter. Right? I have a couple of lists that I use, but unless someone sends it to me, I don't even look at it. To me, I'd much rather look at the things that are longer lead. I'm reading right now. I'm saying this to drama because I know no one else reads.
Literally, of all the tens of thousands of people that listen to the podcast.
You're trying to one.
I asked if anyone liked my book recommendations. I got 4 DMs.
Well, Mente reads.
Yeah, he was one of them.
And by the way, this one is truly a disaster, because if I have a feeling if you ordered the book and just looked at the size of it, you'd be like, nah, I'll skip it. But it's a book called Lords of Finance, and it's
John already bought it.
I think I have that. I have that in my to-read pile.
It's a Pulitzer Prize winning book about the stock market crash through the eyes of the heads of the 4 main central banks at that point. So US,
which
UK, France,
crash? The late 90s or 2008?
No, like the
neither.
Like the 20s or whatever.
1929.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Got it.
1929.
Got it.
So yeah, so it's World War I leading up to World War II, and it's incredible because just for perspective, which and this is the thing that I think people are starting to appreciate is the world that I grew up in is actually the weird one. The world where we've been off of the gold standard since 1971. That's the unusual one. As one very very astute and powerful CFO who I won't name, so I'm not sure he'd want me to, said to me, it defies imagination, right? We are in completely uncharted territory when it comes to world finance. Now you throw this China thing that Anand mentioned into the mix, where they're actually getting way ahead, and they want the world to come off the dollar standard. You start pulling on that thread, and you go, they are going to have some level of success with getting off the dollar standard. They'll make sure that the trade that they do in Asia is with the yuan, and the trade through the Belt and Road into Africa is done with the yuan. That will, without question, take some power away from the dollar. Now, we've never had that kind of financial destabilization in an era where there's nuclear weapons. So we've been living with kind of, Bretton Woods and whatever comes after since World War II. This is it, guys. Like this is no joke. Like the world is about to change. Another way to look at it is like the internet brought us an incredible amount of change that none of us could have predicted. When we were working on the internet in 1998, 99, we thought it was like, I was doing streaming music, I couldn't have predicted like Trump and Brexit, and I actually think that some of the denial that Mark Zuckerberg had, when he's in front of Congress saying there's no way that Facebook influenced the outcome of this election, I don't think that was lies. I think that was just denial. I think that he genuinely thought like, there's no way this thing that I created in my dorm room is influencing the American election. Like, come on, guys, that's absurd, right? But that's exactly what happened, and now you're talking about the internet of value. You're not talking about, the outcome being like Netflix. You're talking about the way that people, earn a living. And then I think that this is to come back to Elon. I think on some level, again, Elon realizes that, wow, if you really want to mess with the world, this is it. Like he is literally redistributing wealth right now. He can tweet and redistribute wealth from people who hold Bitcoin to people who hold Dogecoin. He has that power. And that is, that is really crazy. I mean, this is not pets.com.
Yeah, and which is what's even crazier else. To your point, Ian, is on the Doge thing. When you look at all the price fluctuation of all the cryptocurrencies of the last week, Doge has actually been the most stable.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I'm looking.
It's literally unscathed.
Oh, it is
from the whole week.
Like
the most reliable currency we have.
I mean, that is the new. It's the Doge Standard.
I'm down for the Doge Standard at this point.
Doge Standard.
At this point, I'm up for anything.
Yeah, fuck it, man. I'll put a little into everything.
But I will say, and I want to actually get your thoughts, Ian, because I've been in this space since 2011, 12, the crypto space, and the first time I actually got shook was March 2020, which was just a year and change ago, where when the markets were crashing, we're in a pandemic, stock market was down, 35% in like the course of a week.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin just fell off a cliff. Ethereum fell off a cliff. And it was this flight to cash. And it was like a few day period. It was a few days. And I was like, holy shit, is it over? And I heard other like kind of OG Bitcoin crypto people be like, that was the scariest we've ever seen, because they were like, in this black swan event, is this an asset or is it not?
Yeah.
Is there a floor or is there not?
Yeah.
Like there's a floor on the NASDAQ, there's a floor in the Dow Jones, there's a floor on Apple stock, where everyone's like, okay, we're all going to buy at whatever price.
Yeah.
But this was still a new asset class where we're like, is this going to zero or is it not? Yeah. And it floored at 3,000 and then it like got to like 5K within like 24 hours. And I was like, oh my God, this thing's real. Yeah. And after that, I was like, holy shit, there's nothing stopping this.
That was like the ultimate stress test kind of?
Yes, I think it was the most ultimate stress test because before it was just like crypto fluctuations, like 2017, 18, 2012, 2014. Those are all just like, is crypto real or not? This was like global crisis.
Yeah.
Do people believe in this to exist or not?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that, this will be another type of moment, but when you had the run up like the one we've had, everyone knew that there was consolidation coming, and I think that when you have moments like this, weekends get consolidated. People who really believe come in and buy up the supply. I think that the belief on this thing is so strong. Even listen to our conversation, right? Like we're in more disbelief that this could happen than we are saying, oh, of course this is going to happen. So I think that there are enough people, who are like Anand and I in the world, again, there's 24 million, millionaires in the world or something, and 21 million Bitcoin. Like the narrative is so strong. I have to say the one thing for me that makes this different is that I actually had this thought earlier in the year, the narrative around energy consumption, whether it's real or not, doesn't matter relative. What matters is the perception. And so, and I think the other thing is, will people move another direction? There are other directions for people to move in now. And that's where, I wonder, we don't know what comes around the corner tomorrow. There are lots of things, that are in the works in terms of, other chains, other solutions, Ethereum 2.0, proof of stake versus proof of work. So I think that there are plenty of other shoes to drop, but I think, Bitcoin as like the backstop, it's there will be a floor because there are a critical mass of people who, when the price settles, will buy.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's right around 45,000.
Hopefully that's in the next 10 minutes.
Hopefully we're on the floor currently.
And for our listeners, one of the exciting things we wanted to share is the reason why Ian is actually on is Ledger just became a sponsor of the pod. And
fill up our ledgers.
Yes.
Guys, by the way, I'm glad we did that sponsorship deal in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Last week.
You already got your discount.
Exactly. A nice deal on this one.
Oh man.
Damn it.
Listen, I'm really, really happy. I mean, like I told you guys before, I'm a listener, and because you guys keep me connected to LA, where I lived for more than 20 years. Like Drama, I'm a Midwesterner, LA transplant.
That's right.
And I feel like I can tune into you guys and like get my dose of living there. I can get my peek inside the bubble.
Yeah.
And so, but also I think like we talked about, you guys have an audience of people who really care about this and are at the leading edge of I wouldn't even say it's like the leading edge of the movement. It's really like the leading edge of thought. When I took this job back in January, it wasn't the people who are my age that are like, oh, that's so cool, I've got a ledger. It was people who, the son of, a friend who is, 24 years old, or, my friend who's an artist in LA, he was like, oh, I had never heard of Ledger, but I mentioned it to my assistant. And he was like, yeah, of course I have a ledger. All my friends have ledgers.
Yeah.
So it really is, it's that, and that I think is a big thing that's clear. It's like, this is a generational shift, and it's a generational shift toward like thinking about, banks in a completely different way. I mean, banks aren't going to mean, the same thing to younger generations as they meant for us. That's not to say they'll go away. They'll just have different jobs than they had for us growing up. And, really, you can hold cryptocurrency, you can get loans, you can make loans and earn yield at a great rate. And I think, this is the kind of stuff that your listeners are interested in. And, I think, and to the point of our conversation earlier, what I would like to see them do is to do that, with sovereignty. So in other words, what you just said about, Robinhood is like, exactly the issue, right? Not your keys, not your coins. If somebody else is gating the access to your value, that's actually not cryptocurrency, by the way. You know what I mean? Like the promise of cryptocurrency is about sovereignty. And, the Robinhood, GameStop thing was like one big advertisement for self-custody, right? In fact, like to be in the world of decentralized finance, you don't have these, these kind of, you actually have to have, hold of the assets to do the trade.
Yeah.
Right. It's part of the system. And I think that's really what's coming. And I think that your listeners are on the leading edge of that. And so anyway, we would just like them to do that securely. So if I could make a plea to your listeners, where if you are using MetaMask without a ledger, like let's talk, because you need to get a ledger, connect it to MetaMask, transfer out of your, kind of browser account and into the account that's protected by your ledger. If you are, if your asset value is on Robinhood, and you couldn't, cash it out, or you couldn't transfer those Bitcoin to something else if you wanted to, to be honest, I don't even know how you do it. I don't think you can from Robinhood. I think
you can't.
No, you can't
transfer it to cash, and then take that cash
and go and buy coins somewhere else. It's
and go buy the coins, which tells you kind of all you need to know.
Yeah,
but it's okay. Like, look, you can do that. You can buy exposure to an asset class. That's a, I'm not saying it's not a financial instrument, but it's not the promise of cryptocurrency.
Yeah,
the promise of cryptocurrency includes sovereignty and kind of some sort of freedom with your assets. And it also includes security. And it also, by the way, includes this world that goes beyond what we've talked about now, which is speculation on cryptocurrency. It goes into the entire world of digital assets where, whether it's NFTs or digital identity, ultimately you're going to own something that allows you to log in. It's not going to be, hey, give me all of your personal information, right? And in other words, why would I need to log in to kind of, prove ownership or prove attendance when I can just have a token, that proved attendance, and now boom, I get access to whatever it is I need to have access to.
Yeah.
Like this like digital asset thing is much bigger than just kind of, buy low, sell high, right? It's actually, it's going to change our entire experience online.
And I think what you said much earlier is super important, because we live in the developed world where we have somewhat stability, right? Mm-hmm. Like we can go to the bank and get money. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a lot of the world where there's not stability, all you need is your 24 passphrases, and you can flee a country with all your wealth through a ledger.
Yeah.
Which is like
that's a whole
so
different thing.
Liberating.
Yeah.
Because we take it for granted being in the US and the Western world, where that's not really something we think about.
Yeah.
But it's something a lot of people think about, like billions of people think about. How do you flee with whatever you have?
Yeah. 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 And I mean, look at it this way. I mean, Coinbase isn't even alive in all 50 states. We sell ledgers into 200 countries every week. And imagine, that you are working abroad and you're feeding a family, wherever you came from. You have a ledger, they have a ledger. You have a remittance network. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you need to, forget this, like, I don't know if you heard the stories of like, Western Union in, South America, where, Western Union takes a pound of flesh, in terms of
transaction
money,
fees, yeah.
For transaction fees. And then someone outside of Western Union takes a pound of flesh on your way out, right? Like there is a, you basically, you pay the mob before you get home. Yeah. Whereas, there's definitely, there are definitely use cases where, this stuff is life-changing. This is why I think that ultimately this is a bigger effect on humanity than the internet, because sure, the internet has changed the way we get information, and that's certainly made, major changes, to humanity, and it'll continue to. But, when we change the way that value moves, from person to person, I mean, even just look at like the percentage of, total GDP that is, the financial services industry, and think about the disruption that industry is going to go through in the next, 5 to 20 years. It's going to completely change humanity.
But Warren Buffett doesn't get it.
No, of course not. And when I first learned about crypto, what actually made me realize this is a no-brainer industry is if you just take the unbanked world, this is a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. And people didn't get that. It's like, oh yeah, you can go to Bank of America and get US dollars and buy things. Like, why do you need crypto? And I was like, do you realize like a third of the world is unbanked?
Yeah.
So even if it just captures that, it's a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. And now it's obviously way bigger because it's getting into the developed world. But no, it's like you said, sovereignty, liberty. It's the most exciting thing we've seen in technology, I think, ever.
What about Uber?
What about what?
Less exciting.
What did you say?
Uber.
Well, interesting.
I can't even get an Uber.
You can't get an Uber.
I know. I walk now. I'm a walker. I'm a full-time walker.
You literally can't get an Uber. We had a friend over last night. They tried to go home like around midnight. Couldn't get an Uber.
So
they slept over.
They literally waited in the lobby for 40 minutes to get a lift. No, we're like, you can stay, but they were just insistent on getting home.
It's amazing, by the way, because I remember like trying to get a taxi in San Francisco in like 1999. Like I know exactly what made Uber exist, because trying to get a taxi, you call, I can almost remember the number off the top of my head.
Yeah,
it's literally the same problem again.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
it works. Like I don't even use Uber. We have something called G7, so G7 here in Paris, and it works like a charm all the time.
Well, not over here. We're done working.
Taxi cabs, they have a magic lane, that they can go in. So yeah, no, that is interesting. But I completely agree with what Anand said. I think the other side of it. I mean, first of all, yes, you are kind of building, wealth storage and banking services for the unbanked. At the same time, you're unbanking the banked, right? Like if you really start looking into DeFi and realize that we are living in a moment when many, many, many banks around the world are charging negative interest. So they're charging you to keep your money in the bank, where you can get, a huge yield on these, over collateralized loans with crypto, with things like, Compound and those are centralized, finance players. But when you're looking at like some of these DeFi players, you're literally seeing the future, of where you can get a loan without telling them your life history, without, without somebody making like a value judgment on you. Mm-hmm. You put up collateral, you get a loan in 30 seconds, right? Like that's the other side of it. I mean, the innovation here is going to be really staggering. I'm going to come back and say again, like your listeners really should check out Balaji on Tim Ferriss, because he goes into a lot of these like future predictions that talk about the way that the world might change. And crypto is only one piece of that for him. That's why I like people like him and Naval, because they're capable of talking about kind of whether it's like meditation and wellness, and crypto in the same. It's all part of. There's a through line for them, because it's about how humanity is changing or evolving generally. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff in there.
And just because I don't want to forget, because obviously I asked if you guys have like a discount code, and you're like, we're selling out of these. We don't really need discount codes. So
how does someone get a ledger?
So Ian had a great suggestion. They actually have something called the Crypto Starter Pack. So you go to ledger.com, that's LEDGER.com. And at the Crypto Starter Pack is kind of what you need to get started, because on top of the ledger that you get, and I think you get a bunch of beginner's guide to crypto in like a PDF format, you also get, after 14 days of the purchase, a $25 voucher for your first crypto purchase, it sounds like. Is that right?
Sounds like you buy a lot of Doge.
Yeah.
A lot of Doge.
Yeah.
To the moon.
And Shibu. You can probably buy 100 million Shibu.
Yeah.
$25.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're adding, yes, we're adding. Thank you, by the way, for mentioning that. We're adding more and more features on top of Ledger. So you store your assets with Ledger, and then from there you want to do things. Whether you want to buy, you want to do that sort of dollar cost averaging on a weekly basis, like we talked about. Maybe you want to trade. You want to trade your Doge for Shibu for Doge, whatever direction you want to go.
You want some ass?
No, and ultimately, will give you access to the world of DeFi, et cetera, all through kind of the security of your Ledger Live, because and from the device. The reality is that your cryptocurrency is quite secure. The moments that you run into problems are at the moment of transaction. That's where something bad can happen, right? So that's why when you're doing that, you really need to, do it from a place that is secure. And that's exactly the point. So, we give you with the crypto starter pack, you get a Ledger Nano plus that $25 voucher. So if you are somebody who has, zero crypto and you're just looking to get started, it's a great way to kind of get started, get set up, get your first $25 worth. And then, you can decide where to go from there.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Good stuff. Happy to be part of the fam.
Yeah. I'm gonna give Pete his Ledger tomorrow.
Oh, you got him one?
Yeah. And Ian sent me a couple, so I was like, what, Pete? Now that
he's a high roller.
He's a high roller.
He says he's all crypto.
He's an easy target too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If any of our listeners are a little savvy, they're like,
You go, hey, Pete, this is Joe from...
Oh, it is tree, dog, cat.
Where does Pete keep his crypto now?
I think he's on all the platforms because he's playing in a lot of different coins.
He has like the altcoins, the Robinhood.
That's okay. Well,
he has a Coinbase account.
Yeah.
Well, he can just send them right out of there and send.
But you can't send it from Robinhood because that's not crypto.
You can't send it from Robinhood, but from his Coinbase account, you can. You know what? I want to say one thing too. Anon asked the right question. I was listening to that. I might have said this when Pascal and I were on a few weeks ago, but you were doing that interview with the guy who bought the $200,000 NBA Top Shots, and you asked exactly the right question, which was where do you keep it? But that's the thing. It's like if you have that kind of value and you're keeping it on your phone or in a web browser, you're making a mistake, right? Yeah. If you're keeping it in Coinbase and like you said, using Google Authenticator, okay, you're doing all right. I'm not upset at you. But if you are just keeping that in like a non-custodial software wallet or, inside of a wallet in Chrome with no ledger attached to it, man, you are playing with fire.
What are the odds our boy still has the LeBron gif? It's gone, right?
It's long gone.
Nah, he's got it. He's got it.
Right after the episode, it was vanished. An art heist, modern day art heist.
Oh my God.
Holy cow.
Thomas Crown Affair, right?
Yeah, I like it. They should do a movie about
Without
that.
all the sex and fun. It's just a guy sitting in his sweatpants.
No top hat.
We got it.
No top hat.
It's just a short film.
Yeah.
It's 7 minutes. It's like, okay, it's over.
Oh my God. All right.
Hold on. Should we check the Bitcoin price before we say goodbye?
It's going up. We're back up.
Are we back?
Yeah, we hit the floor. The floor is 45K.
Slightly, yeah. We're 45K.
It turns out 45K is the new floor. So Anand, we survived another stress test.
Yeah.
If we can survive, COVID. We can survive Elon.
Doge is unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
It just doesn't move. The whole crypto world was selling off the last 24 hours, and Doge is the new stable coin.
Yep. Diamond hand Doge.
Oh man. We don't know what Elon meant by Indeed, but maybe he put Doge on the balance sheet.
Imagine if he swapped it.
Or if he bought
did
Bitcoin
that,
today.
I'd be back.
What
a
if he
fan.
bought?
I'm a huge fan if he converted all his Bitcoin to Doge.
Agreed.
I'd be like, you know what? This guy's got...
If he does that, you have to go get that Model X.
Yeah.
Wait, if he did what? Sorry?
But all his Bitcoin
Swap
to
all
Doge.
his Bitcoin value for Doge.
That's big baller move.
That's big ball. You got to
Yeah.
buy
I
it.
can't buy
I'm a
Tesla,
huge
but-
fan if he did that.
Me too.
If he did that, then we are definitely living in a simulation.
Yeah. Cash
That's
on
what I
2
will be
billion
sure
of
about.
Doge.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know what's a good actual, I didn't even realize it. So we learned that Jason Calacanis is Elon's plus one homie. He's
Buddy.
the entourage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
If like he's at a rap concert, he's the homie that's sideline,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And Jason Calacanis, consistently on Twitter says Doge is going to zero. His homie is Elon.
It's a pretty good sign. That's good inside info.
Well, maybe Elon doesn't talk to his plus one homie. That's why he's not having any serious conversation
you're
with
right.
him.
You're right. It's not like Pete knows your guys' investing strategy.
Yeah.
Ian, do you have any idea, or do you think anyone in the world has any idea who the actual Satoshi is?
I have no idea, and I don't know. And it's there are definitely people who think they know, and there is also someone who claims he is.
Right?
That's the guy you talked about.
Yeah.
But I don't I don't have any inside info there at all.
Do you think
I
Elon
do think
knows? Like, do you think anyone knows? Someone
Of course,
has to
there's people that
right?
know.
I don't think so.
You think it's a group of 10 people that are just sworn to secrecy,
I think it's a group.
and no one's
I
out
don't think-
drunk
I think-
bragging at the
I
club?
mean, I would think that if I thought 10 people could keep a secret. Personally, I have found the best way to
That's
keep
true.
a secret is to not tell anyone.
Yeah.
And so you tell one person and that shit gets leaky. So
Yeah,
I'm
someone's
one-
at the club like, yo, I'm Satoshi.
I know, drunk with some hot chick. Yo, you heard of
Yeah.
Satoshi?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm 1/10 of them.
Yeah, exactly. You
I think there's a lot of people saying that.
That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's for
But
sure.
I don't know. I have to say though, it is one of the greatest stories in the history of humanity.
Yes.
Just the fact that like we don't actually know,
Yeah.
and that there is an asset that depending on the day of the week is a $1 trillion asset class, has no. It's gold was created by, you tell me. Depends on your religion, right?
Yeah.
And now there is something that has been created by we
Yeah.
don't know that has this kind of value.
It's so crazy to think
just
about.
It's just an insane story.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you haven't read it, I highly recommend or you can listen to it. By the way, it's on audiobook. The Bitcoin Standard, which that guy is like Safety. I can't say his last name, but he is an Austrian economist. He is a libertarian. He is extraordinarily opinionated and believes that he is the only correct person on the planet. So you have to kind of, be able to listen to that. But like, again, the narrative is super interesting and really worth getting your head around just because, again, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it's really worth reading to just kind of understand what is this creation and how does it fit into, the history of money and value.
Yeah, that's amazing. On that note, thank you, Ian. I know it's late for you in Paris. Is Paris locked down? You guys are screwed, right?
We still have a 7 p.m. curfew until Wednesday.
So you're breaking the law right
now.
now, recording this podcast. You're not asleep.
I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, which is I'm sitting in my house. But starting Wednesday, Le Petit Célestin, which we went to, Dee, is opening on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Everything, Le Bon Marché, BHV, everything opens on Wednesday. So
they've all been closed? Or they've been just closed?
They've been closed, and I don't even remember since when. I guess we've been closed again since March, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn, USA is pretty good.
No vaccines there, huh?
Well, they're really coming up. So just this past Wednesday, anyone over the age of 18 can get a vaccine after 4 p.m. So they're keeping the appointments up till 4 p.m. for the kind of at-risk people. And anything after 4 p.m. is fair game, but it's still pretty hard to get one. I got mine in the U.S. like a month ago.
USA.
But my girlfriend got hers at Stade de France on Sunday, so it's starting to happen. But I mean, in the U.S., it's completely different. My 14-year-old who lives in L.A. got vaccinated last week.
Yeah, I mean, you open your Uber app, you can just press vaccine.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
You can't get
There's
a
no
car.
driver.
You can get a car, but you can't get
Like, it's right there if you can only find a driver. Yeah, I will say the U.S. fucked up early on, but man, we came through with
we
the
throw
shots.
the money at the problem.
Yeah, and
we're
it's
good at that.
No, it's true. I mean, when I was in LA, I went out to where was it? Like was at Cal State in East LA, and when I got my J&J jab from a U.S. Army serviceman, and it was that place was a factory, just like putting people through there and putting needles in their arms, and I was like, I'm in America.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I'm in America right now.
We're probably going to this will probably be the entire episode today, but since you like Bubble Talk, on Thursday, we did a little event for our Revolve launch. And so I get there early and, we separated tables, 6, and, everyone was nicely spread out.
When?
No, just listen. Okay. So I was the plan.
Got it. Oh, that's how you set it up.
Yes. I had set up all these tables. We had set it up with the team there at Harriet's, and they did a good job.
Yeah.
And then everyone came, and it was just like
a madhouse. Oh my God. I have not really had like a social night out. Like you guys have had a couple.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a perfect toe dip, right?
Yeah.
Like Harriet's is very open, outdoors, plenty of space. I've been to these things. We go there, man. It is just everyone, all the friends
on top of each other.
But it was incredible.
Friends on top of each other. The vaccine works.
It works. Let me tell you what.
Yeah.
It went straight to dive in the deep end, and I feel great.
Yeah. But it was just cool to see. Like, it felt literally like 10 years ago to me.
Oh, that amazing.
That night, just seeing
so happy.
all these people, and frankly. I read that the average person that gained weight gained like 25 pounds. Yeah. And I think the average person that lost weight lost like less than 10.
Yeah.
I would say everyone looked pretty good.
Everyone looked pretty good. Yeah, there was no...
And I'd be happy to call out any of my friends if I thought...
easy fish and barrel for you.
You'd be like, he put on a little extra weight.
You should have had a weigh-in.
Yeah.
You should have had a weigh-in on the way in. Come on in. Come on, Helen, step on the scale. Then you can come on in.
Yeah.
There's a weight limit in the bar in the area. So,
it was so nice, man. Everyone was so happy. It was great.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see everyone. And I think, so then I dipped my toe again Saturday night. Anand kept saying he's going to Delilah. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm interested. But he goes 9:30. I was like, 9:30?
I like that, Anand.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, catch a vibe.
So Anand still has fun,
So then I
hung it up.
And then, so our friend Mikey was like, I'll meet you at 8. I'm like, great.
Oh, that's your time.
So I come at 8. Of course, he's not there. I'm sitting there by myself.
But luckily, no one else was there, right?
But guess what? He stayed for my 9:30 reservation.
I left at 11.
Dee did?
Yeah, Dee popped in.
I was there till 11.
Sat with our table till 11.
I sat till 11, and then the real thing for me was I started hitting Uber just to try to get a car.
Yeah, you started at 10.
and by 11,
left at
11:30. Yeah. Would you like a ride later? I'd like a ride ever.
Yeah, 100%.
And before we get off this, because we're like living in kind of a golden time in LA, the US, where everything's open and rocking.
Yeah.
The rest of the world, even what Ian's saying in Paris, Singapore back on full lockdowns from April.
And they did an incredible job in the beginning, right?
Same with Taipei in Taiwan, full lockdown, as strict as it was back in March.
Oh my God.
So the rest of the world doesn't have access to vaccines, and cases are flying, variants are flying. We're just in this insulated bubble.
I hope they don't follow like too many Americans on Instagram.
Yeah. Don't follow anyone from Miami.
Yeah.
Well,
if
now
you were in like a March style lockdown and you're like, these fucking guys are having like UFC fights and club nights. I'm like, what?
But it's such a weird dynamic because the US is seemingly in this like golden era post-pandemic, and the rest of the world is on full lockdown.
Yeah, that's weird.
Especially Asia. I don't know what Europe is. Ian, is Europe pretty bad or?
Yeah, I mean it's all pretty locked down here still. It depends. I mean, it's just modified life. I mean, we went to Spain. I don't know when it was, last month, and we were in Seville, and it was no restaurants were open after 8 p.m. So Spain with restaurants closed at 8 p.m. is not
that's
Spain.
a joke. Yeah.
It's just really modified. But I think that it's just late, and I think 2 months from now, Europe will be exactly where the U.S. is in terms of at least having people who want vaccines will have had them, which is, by the way, as you know, what's going on in the US, like it's kind of at a, what is it, 40% or something? And the vaccination rate is falling precipitously because it's sort of like, it's people like us who like wanted them. We wanted to get back out there. But then there's a whole bunch of people that are like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's okay too. I think from my perspective is like, as long as people who want vaccines can get them, then it'll be the same here. We'll just see who kind of has a higher take rate, but life will get back to normal.
Yep. All right.
Good stuff, man. Ian, thanks for supporting the pod in a very real way. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for blessing us. I told you your room, you look like the Naval of
a lot of books.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to show you. You guys see my Winamp NFT up there?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a display of an NFT. I kept wondering, like, is that like a Ledger product that's coming? What is that?
It's actually a Winamp NFT that
Where'd you buy that?
I became the proud owner. I bought it on Foundation.
Okay, got it.
But it's a French. It was so cool, man. It was such a cool experience because a French artist, he did a Winamp thing. Someone tipped me off to it, and they actually connected me with him directly because they were like, "Hey, maybe you can buy it before it goes on auction." And he was really cool. He's like, "Look, I have followers, and I already put it up, and it's going to go on auction tomorrow. So I don't really feel like I can, take it off now. I'll look like an asshole. So I hope you win it." Basically, is where he came from. He's like, "It'd be really cool if you got it." I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "No problem, man. I don't mind. I'll try to win it fair and square." And then, so I put in the first bid, which was 1 ETH.
Okay.
And then the way it works on Foundation, you bid, and then the clock starts ticking, and there's 24 hours from that auction. So then, just a few hours later, somebody else outbid me. I was like, okay, that's cool. But I knew what I was going to do, and I really hoped that it worked. So, back in the Nullsoft days when we were working on Winamp, we barely spoke English. And what I mean by that is we just spoke like, either nerd, slang, hacker, whatever, anything else, any way that we could confuse people with the way we spoke, we did. It's like being a skateboarder or anything else, right? You don't really speak the same language that your parents speak, right?
Yeah.
So elite speak was LEET. It's like being an elite hacker. So elite was 1337. So I was like, I want to win this thing for 1.337 ETH. That was my
winning bid
backup plan. So I waited until 15 minutes before the end of the thing, put in my 1.337 bid, and won it at that. And I was like, this is exactly what was supposed to happen.
Uh-huh.
I was supposed to get it for this amount.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good stuff, man. Okay.
Well,
there you have it. Ian, thank you, man. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time you're in town. Or maybe things open back up and we'll be over there. You'll be there in a couple of weeks?
Exactly.
You'll be here?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there in a couple of weeks.
Let's drink some French wine. Bring some French wine.
There we go.
It's
wide open. It's a different world over here. So leave your mask back home.
yeah.
Exactly. Mask off.
Mask off. That's right. We'll see you.
See you guys.
All right.